Hello and welcome to my very first speed build. I am Plum Bob's girlfriend, aka Rachel. I am a longtime simmer, first time uploader, so I'm just excited to introduce myself to YouTube and get to know how to do this whole thing. So basically, what I'm doing today is I am building a lot that is reminiscent of one that is for sale near my house. Um, I live in Portland, Oregon, and it's really fun to watch the real estate in the area, mostly because it's wishful thinking and I wish I could afford some of those houses, but I always find myself wanting to build in The Sims when I'm checking out Zillow or Redfin. So basically, what you'll see here is that I am going to show you how I do things like create a garage or, um, you know, adjust things to fit. I love how the roof actually turned out on this build, which is crazy because I usually hate doing roofs. So this was an interesting build to do. I'm not super happy with the way that it turned out, but overall I thought it was a good effort and a good way to introduce myself to the world of streaming. Um, right now I'm playing with the leveling tool with the landscaping. Landscaping's really hard. Has anybody felt that way with this, with that update, that changing the levels with the landscaping is kind of like iffy? It might just be me, but if it's not, let me know in the comments so that I can feel a little bit better about myself. So this house ended up being a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, and it is decorated technically for a mom and or dad and a teenage daughter in my mind, and a child boy sim, if you're going stereotypically with it. If not, I mean, it's up for whatever you want it to be. I didn't get to clutter it up as much. It was a really long one to film. I ended up spending about 3 hours just creating this house, with distractions and life and things like that. But it was it was a fun one overall. I picked a really weird lot for it. I'm not very happy with the one that I placed it on, but that just kind of limited me mostly with landscaping, which is fine. As you can see, I'm putting a couple shrubs here and there, but and those I think stay, but they're not the focal point or anything like that. Mainly when I was recording this build, I was actually really proud of myself just because I was able to get like a trash can and a uh, mailbox in there, things like that that I normally forget in my day to day sim play. And usually kick myself once I get into gameplay, of course, because you really want the Sims to have a place to throw away their rubbish and things like that. So it's kind of fun. I should, I guess, introduce myself a little bit. I call myself some Plum Bob's girlfriend because I'm not married to The Sims, but I do spend a lot of time on it, kind of like I would a boyfriend, or, basically it's not my whole life. I do have a full-time job and, family and friends and all of that stuff that take up a lot of my time, but as much as I possibly can, I find myself playing The Sims. I have been playing for the better part of a decade. I started when I was babysitting and nannying. I had a younger, hipper boss, I guess. Basically, the mom of one of the kids I nannied owned The Sims 2 and said that I could play whenever the kid was asleep. And I did a lot of evening jobs for her, so he was asleep a lot, and it worked out really well for me and really started my obsession. Oh, something that I forgot to mention for this build, I did use the random pack generator that SimSupply has to choose which packs I was going to use. I can't remember all of them. I did this a few days ago, but basically base game, Parenthood, I think, it was 5 packs overall, and it was kind of a challenge, but you'll notice that I use a lot of Parenthood. I felt like this house kind of served that purpose, just with the layout and everything. It's kind of a more craftsman-y, traditional kind of build. So you'll notice that I end up using Parenthood a lot because I just feel like that fits that aesthetic quite a bit. And you'll see I'm building out the kitchen right now. I have never had a kitchen that big, so I always make my Sims kitchens gigantic, I feel like, unless I'm doing a tiny house or something. I would just love to have that much open space to cook. Some parts about this build were really difficult to furnish, I guess. At first, I didn't really know what I wanted all in it. I knew that the entryway just to the left of the entryway is a dining room, and I knew I wanted to put like an office somewhere, but I didn't know where, so I ended up putting it downstairs and kind of making the living area a little bit smaller. I also was able to get that half bath down there, but it's really nothing special. It's literally just a vanity and a toilet and a mirror. You'll actually see that I don't fully finish the bathroom in this build. In fact, I don't show a lot of things. I really did kind of feel strapped for time because by the time I cut everything together that I thought was necessary and got it all sped up, this video was still 30 minutes long, and I definitely didn't want to make you guys sit through any more than I felt was necessary to get a real feel for the lot. I'm trying here to make things a little bit cozier, I guess, but I don't know. The packs that I had just did not fully work together. You'll notice that it's a little bit of a mashup. I don't know. It becomes a thing. Right now, I am just doing a general furnish of the dining room. My mom always has some kind of tablecloth, I feel like, or table runner. So I like to use that table because of the table runner. It makes me feel like I'm at home. So that's why I use that specific table. And I thought that the bright color was good. Maybe the mom's an artist or something and really likes to decorate with a lot of color. I love to paint, and I can't do a painting for myself in any kind of monochromatic scheme. So I guess I was kind of playing off my own personality there. Now you're seeing the, really basic furnishing of the bathroom. I don't even know if I remembered to put a toilet paper roll in that bathroom, honestly. It was just kind of a back of the mind. Like I didn't really think about it that much. As far as the office goes, it ended up being a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be because I didn't know what other activities to put into this build. Normally I try to equip my Sims with as much to do as possible to really get their skills up. Like I said, I paint, so I definitely wanted to include an easel. I pretty much always include an easel, and almost all of my gameplay ends up having some kind of creative sim, painter sim or whatever. Somehow it just happens. I guess I'm trying to make art imitate life or something. Go figure with the Sims that I would want to make it like my life in some way. But yeah, I think we're gonna move upstairs pretty soon. Upstairs is a lot more interesting in my mind. Lighting was also really hard, I should say, actually, in this build. Finally. Okay, so now I'm just trying to etch out the shape. For some reason I thought I was going to put another half bath up there, which then I realized later is a terrible idea, and was actually able to give this whole thing a little bit more of an interesting layout. I gave the master bedroom a little bit more square footage than the two kids' rooms, and you can kind of see where everything falls into place. It's a little bit more crowded than I usually build for my Sims. You'll see the bathroom, or both bathrooms, there's two bathrooms upstairs, are kind of galleyway bathrooms. I don't know if that's an actual thing. I know there's a galleyway kitchen, but I don't know if that really applies to bathrooms, but that's kind of how I ended up making this work for my family, or for my build, I should say. But here we are getting that extra square footage in the master bedroom. Oh, At this point, I thought I had get together for one of my 5 packs. I'll make sure to note down below in the information which exact packs I used for this build, but I forgot that I didn't have get together, so I ended up having to go in and tear down some walls. But I was really hoping to put a closet into the master bedroom, but you'll see it works out. Here's where you kind of start to see where it's a little bit cramped. It's a little reminiscent actually of a house that I lived in recently. My boyfriend and I just moved from a house that we shared with my sister to an apartment, and it was kind of the same style, which makes sense because we're in the same area that we lived in before. And like I said before, I find all of my inspiration usually on Redfin or Zillow to give me an idea of how the layouts work on some of the houses in my area. And I'm pretty sure that all of these houses were built in the same 5-year span, so it makes sense. Okay, so now I was struggling a little bit with which furniture to use for the parents' room. Everything ultimately looks okay. I should say I'm okay with the way that it turned out, but I'm really not the most proud of this build, as I have been of other builds that you can see on my gallery on that I've uploaded. Basically, I have a couple tiny homes on there that I am obsessed with. I think that they are very livable considering how small they are, and I really like to play with the thought that you could just hook that up to a vehicle and just drive away. So if you want to check those out, those are way more reminiscent of my actual style of build. I usually keep things a lot more cohesive than I did in this one, but it didn't turn out bad, I should say. It's just different for me, and I thought it might be an interesting one to upload for my first one. Partly I was kind of just excited to get something out there. I had this idea to do streaming and YouTube and everything very recently. My boyfriend actually was the one who asked me if it was something that I was ever going to be interested in doing, and he deserves all the credit because frankly I'm recording this voiceover on his computer, and he's going to be letting me use another one of his computers. He's a much better gamer than I am. In fact, I should probably link his information below because he has more interesting content. I think if you're not just into speed builds and create a sim like I am, he doesn't play The Sims, but he plays a lot of other more interesting games. And anyway, he kind of encouraged me to do this, and so here we are. Once he encouraged it, I got really excited, and I decided that I was going to get it done within a week. Right now, you'll see that I'm actually just working on the teenage daughter's room, or how I figured it to be. I guess it could be a young daughter as well. There's just no toys in this room. I did feel like the clutter was a little bit off. It's a little too straight across the what's that called, the dresser, but it looks pretty good overall. I was trying to take inspiration from how my room used to look when I was a teenager, and basically the walls were always covered and the surfaces were always covered as well. So I tried to get that as much as I could. For some reason I was having some issues in this lot with things clipping to the surfaces. It just didn't work out like I had hoped it would. So you'll notice that I kind of just jump around a little bit to the point where things actually look good. But like this right here, that little basket for some reason did not want to move forward at all. It worked out in the end, but what can you do? Here is something that I regret about this build. The bathrooms are so narrow that I couldn't put towel racks in them. So I had to improvise. You'll see that I put that little, not cupboard, but shelf right above the sinks, but otherwise I couldn't put a towel rack up, and I was a little bit bummed about that. But I really wanted it to feel like two siblings lived in this shared space and had this Jack and Jill bathroom, where really I wanted to make sure that they both had their own sink, because even when I was growing up, I'm the youngest of four kids, and we had one bathroom with one sink, and there were times when it was a nightmare. So I just wanted to make sure that these two kids could have a little bit more of a cohesive setup so that the two of them don't fight too much. I imagine that they like each other, that they're good friends, or they get along at least. But I haven't really created any family members to go into this build, so it could go any way. It's all up in the air at this point. So right now, like I said, walls are always fun to clutter for me. I really like to put posters up. That was one huge challenge with only using 5 packs for me. The wall art in the base game and the packs, the specific packs that I had access to, like I had Dine Out. Who can, what art from Dine Out can go on a teenager's wall, really? So that was probably one of the biggest challenges from this, was just finding clutter items and decor, wall decor specifically, that met my aesthetic and kind of felt right for this build. All right, so now I have moved on to the boys' room. I do really like those items from Parenthood. I really like the floor clutter that came with that pack because I feel like that's very realistic. Like I said, youngest of four kids, we were all messy in our own ways, and there were many a time where my mom would not be happy with us because of the status of our rooms, basically. So that just feels right to me. But in this one, I didn't have a whole lot of room. Not a big space, but I really liked the way that it turned out overall. I felt like it was livable, and I made sure to put that little art desk outside of the room, just in case this kid wants to kind of follow in his mother's footsteps and be artistic and use that to create that skill. I love those kinds of things for The Sims. I love the kids options in the skill building section. I think they're fun, and I just wanted to make sure to find a space for it, so figured in the hall would be better than nowhere. All right, and now I'm working on cluttering up the walls in the boys' room. It was actually a lot harder in his room than it was in the girls' room. I do not know why. I had a lot of issues making sure that everything was cohesive in this room. I think finally, you'll see it a little later, but I finally put a rug down in his room, and it makes things look way more put together. I think rugs are one of the godsends of The Sims 4, because personally, I would love to have hardwood floors throughout my entire living area and just have area rugs everywhere. And with The Sims, I can do that for them and give them all the things that I don't have. And I just really like to live vicariously through my Sims a lot. And now, just all of the shared spaces were really awkward for me. This hallway, I wanted it to feel like this family lived in this space, but I don't think I fully accomplished that. So I'm definitely excited to kind of bring out some new builds in the very near future that really does show that that all of the things that I can do. I think that having the 5 packs to choose from plus base game was a fun challenge, but it's not one that I'm going to do very often, maybe, unless I get a request for like a specific pack build. I know that a lot of people don't have every pack. I'm fortunate that I do. So if anybody has any specific builds that they want me to do based on the packs that they have, definitely leave a comment and request that, because I would love to take your feedback and to build based on what you're able to do, and to share that with you. That would be amazing. So definitely include that down below, and I will read through everything, because I'm sure I'm not going to have a ton of comments to start out. So I just appreciate all of the feedback I can get. If you want to let me know what kinds of builds you want to see, specifically like what kind of lots you want to see, I will do my best to work those into my videos. I don't love retail lots. That's like the only one that I kind of avoid the most, but I love making diners and various restaurants, so whatever you want to see, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. Um, oh yeah, so I'm just finishing up with the parents' bedroom. I am used to parents' bedrooms being very simple, just based on my experience with my family. So I just left that kind of quiet, kind of serene. So this is a trick that I love to use when I create a faux garage. I wish that the Sims 4 team would create real garages that could actually open a door, but I have no desire for active cars. Um, I I played Sims 3 and it was fun. The open world was fun, but I kind of lost the want for it pretty quickly. So as long as I can decorate with cars, I would love more car options that I can size up to decorate with, but um, as long as I can do that and maybe have one or two garage doors that actually open from the outside, I'll be happy. I do not need them to cruise around in cars and waste my time, honestly, on lag. Um, Maybe that's just me coming from using a kind of crappy computer, but we'll see how I feel about that when I start playing again on a better system. But at this point, it's just nice to have them because I feel like it brings a little element of realism to the game. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really curious how people actually feel about having cars in their games. I have never really cared. I mean, it was a status symbol in Sims 3, but I mostly just care about the way that it makes the build look than anything else. All right, and you can probably already see that I've cluttered up a little bit of the kitchen, but I just didn't know what else to put in this build, honestly. I'm going to start to do the paint on the walls pretty quickly here pretty soon. And once I do that, it starts to feel like a simple home, but a complete home. Meaning the Sims will have everything they need in order to live, but it's not going to be overly drastic and dramatic. I don't even know how much the cost of this lot was after I finished. Um, it's probably not cheap. It's definitely not a starter home. I do love making starter homes though. Maybe I'll do that for one of my next builds because I feel like having that added level of difficulty with trying to keep the price down is one of the most fun things to do when I'm building. So I'll probably do that pretty soon. So I'm just adding some extra touches. Like I said, rugs make a space for me. What else? I'm trying to remember. I filmed or recorded this gameplay a couple days ago, and I've been cutting it together for the last couple days as well. But I'm kind of like remembering what I did as we go along. Oh yeah, definitely love to have things hanging to make it look like it's real. Once I get into the part where it gets to the screenshots, I'll probably close out the video or my voiceover because from that point it's just kind of fun to look at the pictures from the perspective of the Sims and just let the build speak for itself. Oh, I should say that the exterior of the home is fully inspired by the house that I was looking at on Zillow. So that's why it's a blue house. I thought that it was really pretty when I was looking through my Zillow app because I definitely have the Zillow app downloaded to my phone so that I can just look through and get inspiration for builds. But as I was doing that, I noticed the blue was really pretty and I just wanted to see what I could do with that because I knew that I would have access to that swatch when I had the pack choices. I'm just adding some extra art to the walls, making sure that the rugs are cohesive with the space. Like I said, I love playing with color. The living area is a little more monochromatic for my taste. It's not necessarily what I would choose for myself, that's for sure. But I think it looks good overall. And finally, getting some color on the walls kind of makes it look a little bit more homey, where before it was just kind of blah, bland. And I think things are getting pretty wrapped up here soon. So I'm going to sign off, and hopefully I will hear from some of you soon and get some of your feedback. Just keep an eye out for my videos. They're going to vastly improve, I promise. I am about to get some better filming equipment, recording equipment, I should say. I'll have access to a better computer soon, so just keep an eye out for my videos. I'll make sure to post everything on all of my social media accounts. Everything, everywhere is Plum Bob's Girlfriend, so I should be pretty easy to find. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'll make sure to post when I'm about to upload a video, and that way you can keep an eye out. Or there's always the option to subscribe or follow me on all of the socials. Subscribe, ring that bell, I guess. I don't know. This is new to me, so whatever you want to do. If you want to follow me, please do. I would love to have you on my team here in this YouTube world. All right, thank you for listening to me talk, and the video should be wrapping up pretty soon. I appreciate your time. Bye.